So if you guys could tell, we're pretty excited because 1 month from now, 1 month and a week, we'll be in Vegas for the Mint Collective, and honestly, there's no better place to be in the dog days of winter than Vegas. So January 28th through 30th, Mint Collective in Vegas. You're not going to want to miss it. You're going to have a lot of people who are in the know, but you're also going to get so much access, so many cards, so many conversations. So if you're on the fence, please make sure to be there. And if you have any questions about tickets, pricing, if there's anything we can do to help you kind of push you over the fence to make sure you're there, make sure you have fun. We're going to have some events there. Please reach out to Cage Lawyer, reach out to PrizmGawd, reach out to myself. I am Andrew Goldberg, or Lucas Tigers Bronze Podcast. We have a really, really special guest today, Mr. PrizmGawd, and we're going to talk all things innovation in the hobby. What's up, my man? What's going on? What's new in your world?
Just a lot of work, a lot of grinding, man. I'm focused on Culture Collision, but before Culture Collision, I am really excited about Mint Collective. I'm really excited to see what they're going to bring to the table. So I think it's really dope what they're putting together. I mean, shoot, unlimited budget. Let's see what's going to happen.
Can I start with an open-ended question? I'm going to pass it to you, Cage. When you hear the word innovation in the hobby, and this is a question for you, Yosef, but I'll go to Cage too. What does that mean to you? What does innovation in the hobby mean to you?
Right. So, I mean, to innovate is somebody who is making a change in what we're doing, right? So an innovator, at least for this series, is somebody who's taking what we have here and moving it forward through change, doing something different, either doing something completely different or doing something that exists in a way that hasn't been done before, right? So that's why I think PrizmGawd and, when we talk about Culture Collision, which is his baby, that's a perfect example, I think, of innovation in the hobby, right? Because I can't even tell you how many people we've had on who've talked about the National. We did a whole, 10 for 10 series, people about the National. What'd you think? What'd you do? And everybody was saying how, one of the things they'd love innovation in, one of the things they'd like to see change or an update to is the traditional show. And our guest here today may be, pound for pound, the most traveled show visitor that we know. We just off camera in the 30-second lead up here talked about the different treats that you have on airlines because of where he's flying and you name it to go to show and show. And the fun thing is, and what makes, I believe, him an innovator, we can ask him about all the stuff, is you've been to shows. I've been to shows. Shows get stale. Shows get boring. Shows are the same stuff with the same people with the same, inventory. And what people have said is, hey, you know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see more fun in shows. I'd love to see more action in shows. I'd love to see this area or that area in a show, a trade room in a show, and everything else in the hobby seems to be moving forward. Tech bringing it forward, card ladder bringing the your comps forward, content moving forward. A lot of great video content and stuff going out there. But the shows seem to still be in the 1980s, and boom, Culture Collision.
Yeah.
Is that about right, Andrew? Did I do innovation proud?
You got to ask my man here, Yosef. What do you think?
I think you kind of nailed it. It's I didn't really see. It wasn't really my idea to really say, hey, I'm gonna do a show. Honestly, it was Miss PrizmGawd. She really pushed me. She was like, you're gonna do something. Either you're gonna do a show, you're gonna open up a shop. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do a show, I'm gonna do it my way. That was really my whole logic going into Culture Collision. Before I got in, I don't want to go too deep unless you want me to, but I didn't. My logic going into the situation is I love sneakers. You can see sneaker rack. I have more sneakers here. I have sneakers upstairs, and that was one of my loves because it was an inexpensive route for me to collect art or collect something that I felt like was really attainable at the time. But I mean, I didn't really see myself as an innovator, but I guess people, through the course of my career and the hobby, and people started paying attention. I started getting followers. I mean, I guess I never saw myself as an innovator, but I just know that I felt like there was an opportunity for change. And that's really what it was. I think being an innovator in a hobby is just recognizing that there's an opportunity for growth and change and things that we can become more efficient, effective. And I think it's important for us to fight for that. I hear a lot of people, complaining about a lot of different things. And I feel like if you're going to complain, you're not helping the situation. You should be trying to figure out a solution. It's like, we love the hobby. Like I love the hobby. You know what I mean? So, and all the new collectors that are in the hobby, they have a feeling, of loving it as well. But I think we have to protect it. So, in order for protect it, we have to be innovative. We have to grow younger. And and I mean, I guess I don't have the words right now, but when you're dealing with sneaker culture, it's a younger culture, and it's very similar to the card culture. And to the regard of, we look at, as a sneakerhead, I look at sneakers as art. To somebody else, it's just a pair of sneakers, pair of gym shoes, but it's no different than picking up a basketball card and say, "Oh man, this is beautiful. I love this Jordan, BGS 9.5. I love this PSA 10 Jordan. It's beautiful to me. It's art. I have to have it." And so that's where it kind of came from for me.
Where I'm seeing innovation? If I could just jump in here, and this is something I've spent, the last few weeks at least watching, and this weekend I jumped in. I think there's innovation in two spaces, and it's not going to seem like innovation, but it really has changed the game. And that's all of these new shows that pop up and the decentralization of auction houses, right? Because, it seems kind of like obvious now that I'll say it, but we used to buy 90% of our cards on eBay. 70? A majority. Let's just say that way, a majority. Now you have all these local shows where people go pick up their cards, right? Every weekend you're at a show. Now you have Alt. Now you have PWCC. You still have Heritage. You have Golden. You have Starstock. You have all of these little fragmented marketplaces to pick up cards online, and then you have all these new shows popping up. A lot of them blend culture like you do. I'm curious, since eBay has kind of I don't want to say fallen by the wayside, but I think we could tell that on eBay there's way less high ticket, high value cards available than there were just a year ago.
I agree.
Are you still buying online? Are you still looking online, or are most of your purchases in person?
Are you asking me directly, or are you going to
you? You're the guest.
All right. So honestly, it's really funny that you say that. I literally went to my eBay account, no knock eBay, because they're sponsored for Culture Collision, but I have not purchased a card off eBay in probably 6 to 8 months. And one of the reasons being is like it's a pretty obvious reason, right? You can't buy a card on eBay and then turn around and sell it at a show for what you paid for it. If you're in the grind motion of trying to, being a day trader, so to speak. And I think that's really where a lot of it comes from. It's like, and honestly, a lot of times people hit me up through the course of the week. Hey man, hey, you interested in this? So it helps when people know, hey, look, you're buying, you're doing this, you're moving and shaking. And people will just hit me up and say, hey man, I think you'll do better with this than I will. So, hey, if you want this, this is my price, and let me know. So that's really what it boils down to. Plus, I kind of try to wait for those weekend deals. I think I kind of I relied on that to give me, to make sure, hey, I'm going to a show with the motivation to try to find great deals. So.
Also, the bankroll doesn't hurt. People know you when you have those personal deals, whether it's at a show, whether it's someone or someone makes an intro to you online. It's all about deal flow, right? I talk about this with my son when we're at the show, and you try to figure out a way to let the dealer see what's in the box, and then when all the dealers pass, you stalk the guy with the box on the way out of the show and see whether or not you can make a deal. You never step on the toes. The dealers are paying their money for their tables, but there's a different deal flow, at these shows and on eBay, right? You may see one card you like on eBay, maybe 2 cards, 5 cards, whatever it is, but they're probably all from different sellers.
Yeah.
Whereas, if people know you're spending $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 or whatever it may be on a weekend because you're going to blow that out, this is your business, this is what you're doing. It's the kind of stuff you don't get on eBay, over a computer screen. Whereas, somebody knows you're out there looking to spend 10, 15, 20 on cards. You're going to get people who come to you that have that. And maybe if they sold it on eBay and waited a couple weeks and dealt with a consignor and paid the percentages and lost 10% and you name it, they do better. But you know what? It's a lot easier to come to you and sell at 70% of comps because they'll give you what I like call a bulk discount. Bulk's a dirty word in the hobby nowadays until PSA comes back with it. But, that people might be more willing to give you 20,000 in cards that you can flip one at a time because this is what you do, and instead of giving you the 20 at 20, maybe you get it for 14. You know what I mean? Because you can then flip it for 17, the next week. So can't do that on eBay.
Mm-hmm. Drop the gem though for the people that are listening. You say if it's worth 20, you buy it at 14, and you sell it for 17.
That's right.
That's the gem that people miss all the time. They buy it for 14 and they want to sell it for 20.
The merry-go-round would stop, right? We got to keep this merry-go-round going round. You know what I mean? That's the.
We used to be able to do that with grading. Where do you? So there's innovation in grading, right? I mean, in the last year, we've seen 3-4 different companies pop up, probably more. You've seen this kind of play out before, and maybe you could touch on authenticity as it came in the sneaker space too, and if something similar happened. But how should people navigate the grading landscape, right? We want to support new companies, but at the same time, because they're so new, we don't know if they're going to be around. Talk to us about that.
I mean, that's a crazy, oh my gosh, that's a crazy good topic to discuss, and I literally had this conversation this morning.
Give us the unabridged version.
Oh gosh.
Don't hold back.
At some point in time, we have to, as collectors, we have to be open to other spaces, right? And I think that we've put a lot into PSA per se. I'm going to say PSA because I think the multipliers on PSA versus Beckett is ridiculous. I'm just being completely honest with you. I think that we have to be able to, there has to be an opportunity for these smaller companies. We have to give them a little bit more credit. Even myself, it's hard though, because I usually use PSA or Beckett. It's been what I've relied on, but it's based upon, what has made sense through the last 20, 30 years, in the hobby. But now I think we have to. I think we have to allow for new, and I challenge these new graders to bring the new, be innovative enough to show me why I should choose you over PSA and Beckett, because that's what PSA did to Beckett, and people don't realize this. Beckett was the #1 grading company until PSA decided to grade. What was it? Honus Wagner, I think is what it was. Back in the day, you saw it posted on the back of a Beckett magazine, which is really funny because Beckett was the #1 grader prior to then, and then you used to see it advertised, and it was like, oh, wow, obviously they graded that card, and then we start seeing what that card sold for as a PSA. That was value that was created there. And I think the closest company the closest company is probably SGC, but I think that they should probably kind of figure out a way to make themselves a little bit more innovative. And I think we should probably give these other companies a chance, but they have to come with it. I think they have to make us say, man, why wouldn't I pay them $50 to grade their card? Their cases look amazing. It's protected. They're actually bringing some new technology, some new innovation that makes sense to me. And, and like right now we have CSG, we have HGA that's going to be at Culture Collision. And I think we have another grading company as well that's going to be there. We do not have Beckett and PSA yet, but they're open to come. But I think this Culture Collision space was really, that's why we call it a trade show. The space was really meant to bring in new companies, which is, I think, which is one of the things we want to focus on in terms of innovation. We want innovation to be there. We want all these people to be on the platform to talk about why we should choose you, instead of us just saying, I guess this is like, we're just used to PSA and Beckett, and I hate that I'm used to it as well, and I have to even train myself to be open enough. But it's like retarded. Like PWCC just had an auction yesterday where the 2003 LeBron James limited logo sold for like $400,000, and then a PSA 10 2003 autograph patch sells for like $380,000. I'm just thinking to myself, but a PSA 10 is worth more than a Beckett 9.5, but it's just weird how we think about these multipliers when you think about the low end stuff, how a raw card and a PSA 10 and Beckett, it's just crazy. But yeah, I don't want to talk your head off, but I just think that it's definitely interesting.
The auction that ended that was crazy to me was the Luka National Treasures. That was I'm curious who's the buyer on that, and I'd love to have them on the show. Is it you, Cage?
It was Luka's mom.
It was Luka's mom?
She's buying her own autographs back.
I mean,
she's sweeping the floor. It's smart.
That's it. Simple.
Luka might be buying his own stuff.
Why not? Everybody else is, except Giannis. He's buying Bobby Portis.
I definitely think Giannis. Well, definitely it could be Luka. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if more athletes get into the hobby and reinvest and buy their own stuff anyway. I mean, they make millions of dollars anyway, and if they know what they're capable of and what can happen in the future, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, I heard Zion is actually selling his own cards.
It's all right. He'll be buying them back once he trades for the picks.
Yeah. It's probably true. That's probably very, very true. Listen, the grading stuff, it's an interesting topic. It really is. And, we talk about innovator, talk about a space where there was, innovation this year. And yet with that innovation comes so much pushback, right? You have these people who are trying something new, right? You have these people who are coming in, trying to fill a void, even when the big dogs are closed. Like, even when, it's almost like, all right, Coke and Pepsi shut down. Let's get these small craft soda companies come out of the woodwork. But, the people are so loyal to the brand or so used to, what they've had. It's like, you know what? No, I'm going to pay extra for that. The one I know, and I'm going to really push back against the innovation, the AI grading, or whatever these other companies are bringing, custom labels and whatnot. Do you see any of that in your own way of doing business? I consider you an innovator, man, because a couple of things. Number one, you have to roll with the punches in how you navigate the hobby waters, right? So it was easier for me a couple of years ago. It was buy raw, grade, flip, and buy better cards. I mean, you're now basically jet setting across the country, every different show to try to arbitrage one card off another, buy here and sell there, take advantage of the fact that what people know and see in one location they don't have access to in other locations. You buy in New York and sell in Atlanta, buy in Denver and then sell in California. You are bringing cards around that will be fresh inventory for a show that might not be, it might all, besides your stuff you're bringing, might actually have dead inventory, a lot of the same stuff over and over again. Yeah. You combine that with the fact that you're now building the show in February, the Culture Collision show, which is unlike anything because you're bringing in comics, you're bringing in cards, you're bringing in collectibles. You are the epitome of an or. Of an and instead of or. And this hobby is always or. This hobby has been, this is the way it's done. Stop trying to mess with that. Do you get any of that? You get any pushback? You get any people who run traditional shows who are like, why are you doing it this way? This is the way it should be. You get any people at card shows who are like, what the hell are you doing here? This is our kind of show. And, you're we don't like this. Because believe it or not, what's funny is, that's how everything starts. That's how PSA starts. Like, I could tell you guys listening out there now, and I've said this a couple times on our show, I remember going to card shows where 90% of the people at the show said PSA was stupid and that they would never use PSA and that nobody should need to pay someone to tell them what their card grade was or to put their card in a slab. It's cardboard. I should be able to touch it. I should be able to see it. I should be able to put it under my pillow at night and sleep with it. My Eddie Stanky or whoever they were, collecting at the time, right? But now that has changed. That is innovation. So talk to me about that, man, because I think you're switching up the way that things are traditionally done. Get a lot of pushback?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the first show, I had a lot of pushback. I definitely had a lot of pushback. Of course, we had a lot of people that did not show up. I mean, for the backstory on Culture Collision, I mean, we announced our show. Dallas announced their show out shortly after we announced our show. So I got pushback from that. Of course, I've heard stories because I've never done a show before, but I've heard stories of people competing, doing shows against each other on purpose and stuff like that. And to me, that's the dumbest thing you can do. We should be working together. This space is big enough for everybody. We're talking about a 50 plus states of being able to put a show up. And we're talking about we're over 5,000 miles away from each other. I'm not your competition. Trust me. You have enough in your market to be able to be successful. So, I mean, that was never something I would intentionally wanted to do. But at the same time, I did want to stand my ground. I wanted to be able to push to say, hey, look, guys, I think we're very, hey, you can be the best you can be, and I'm going to be the best I can be, and we both can be successful within our space. And that's how I wanted to do it in a respectful manner. And also received pushback from people in the beginning but I did this on purpose though. People were like, well, what type of show is it? I said, well, what do you know me for? I do cards. You don't know any other aspect of me. I mean, for the people that know me on a personal level, they would know I'm into sneakers. They know I'm into comics, and they know I'm into pops. I know, you know the other aspects of me. But I love a little bit of everything. I mean, I think that I have got to the point to where I can appreciate art for whatever it is, and I see the beauty in a lot of different things. So for me, that's where I'm at. But I did receive a lot of pushback because people were like, "Well, is it a Pokemon show? Is it?" Because the first flyer that I did literally had Pikachu on it, Spider-Man on it. But honestly, I was wanting to appeal to the people that weren't collectors, because I feel like getting card people to buy into Culture Collision was the easy part. It's getting the comic book people and the sneaker people, because here's the thing, right? You guys are going to continue to go to sports card shows all forever. But the thing is, though, how can we bring in new people into the hobby? Because that's how we're going to continue to thrive. We have to bring in new people, educate them, and then say, hey, look, that's art, but this is art too, and this is how I feel, and we talk about it in a respectful manner, and then maybe we create new collectors. Maybe we, create new investors. Maybe we get those new innovators that can say, I see your point. I'm going to do a show just like you did a show, and I'm going to do something better, or I'm going to do a comic book show and I'm going to add cards or do something, whatever they decide they want to do. But I received a lot of pushback in the beginning, and a lot of people did not show up to Culture Collision because they didn't know what it was. But the amazing part about it to me that really meant a lot to me was the fact that my sponsors, they believed in me enough to be able to say, man, I believe in what you're doing. And the people that did show up to the show, they believed in what I was doing, and they trust the process. And I mean, I'm very appreciative of the fact that people took a chance on Culture Collision and then bought into the idea. And then now I'm just, I'm trying to recreate it and make it better. We go back to the drawing board, we make it better. That's what an innovator does. It's a circle. It's 3 steps. You put the idea out. You test it. Then you put it out there. Then you say, okay, well, what type of flaws did I have? Then you start over and you do it again. And I think I want to try to recreate that every single time. So even now, this time we started out with, you get to choose your own tables, which I thought was a great idea. From the guy in Las Vegas, the Las Vegas show. He actually was the first person I saw do that. And I thought to myself, like, that's a great idea, because for one, it builds a sense of urgency. Then it takes away what I have to go through. And this is not my innovation, but I think that the idea of Culture Collision maybe birthed other ideas for other people and created more innovators in this space, to where we're all like, okay, we all know that, okay, the Nationals makes, X amount of money. And what do they kind of bring to the situation? What makes the National so great? It's the people. But I think that has to change, where I think we have to add more value as a promoter. And if I'm making X amount of money, I can put money into it to make it better and say, hey, look, guys, I'm going to do this for you guys. I feel like we have to pay it forward through all aspects. So if you're going to support me, I'm going to support you and make sure that you enjoy yourself while you're coming out. So that's my responsibility. You
have a 4-on-4 basketball tournament, right?
100%.
How'd you set that up? What was the idea behind that?
Well, at the time, I think it came from a lot of people saying, I would go to shows and people say, hey man, you want to go play basketball? And I'm like, I heard this too many times. I think we should do a basketball game like at the show. It'd be kind of cool. Let's do something. So the nail in the coffin is I went to California. I played Sasha and Nady, my boy Mike. We played a 3-on-3. I'm sorry, Mojo Sports. He was out there, so we all played in California at Mark's Cards event. He had a show outside, so we played basketball outside. And I was like to myself, like, man, we should do this. I think I'm gonna add this to Culture Collision.
who had game that you wouldn't expect?
I think Sasha he surprised me a little bit. He might have got lucky, which is why I need to see what he's gonna do at Culture Collision. So I'm gonna say he surprised me a little bit, but I know you have a vendetta, right? You gonna play him at Culture Collision. Is that what's going on?
Well, depends on the day. I got a vendetta against everybody. It's weird. I don't even know what's going on in my head sometimes. It's we have a friendly bet, but we need to amend that bet because we bet Luka Prism PSA 10.
Well, it can happen at Culture Collision, and I can make sure that happens a 1-on-1 for this. We can play for slabs. And I'll start off with you guys to get guys started, and I think we can make that happen. I know for a fact I can make that happen.
All right, we can only do this on one condition.
What's the
I
commission?
get to tie up like a bandana around my head, and I get to play birdie. I'm birdie on the side, right? I gotta call Andrew. He's gonna be Kyle Watson.
Okay.
And
You talking about above the rim, man?
Dude, how do you know
above the rim, birdie, man? You know, birdie.
No,
I was actually going
to
actually the jerseys. I was thinking about making the jerseys like above the rim jersey,
the black jersey, Mota, right?
Yeah, but no, I had to go to something different. It'll be something real special, man. I think, but next year, I've even learned from my first time doing this show. It's like I probably won't be doing a 4-on-4 next time. It'll just be a 12-man roster, 4 quarters, like a real regular game, and it'll be influencers and people who actually in hobby. We're doing a charity game every year, so it'll be a charity game once a year, every year going forward. But 4-on-4 is going to still be real special for the first time around, and give everybody opportunity to be a part of the first, inaugural charity game. We're going to have an MVP. We're going to have a trophy. Everybody's going to have special jerseys. So it's going to be really dope. That's all I can say.
Listen, we got to help you. If it's a charity event, we got to help you make the teams. Because I envision like one team with like Rob Petroza on one side, Ezra Levine on the other. Okay. Right, maybe like Nat Turner on one side, maybe like Dr. Beckett on the other.
I like that.
Ken Golden on one side, and like Brent Hugans from PWCC on the other. Like you gotta set it up like the rivalry game.
I like that. Well, you know what? I think next year, I think I'm gonna aim for that. We can get Gary V too. We can get Gary V. Actually, I'd like to get Vegas Dave too. I'm sure people love.
Oh, there we go. That's it. There's the point guards for each team. You got Vegas Dave on one side, Gary on the other.
I'll see if he's gonna bet on himself.
Last question. I want to ask you about the market, because here's what I've seen in the market. I've seen high ticket items, 6-figure cards and above. They're setting record prices, or they're right near record prices. But I've seen high pop, less than 1,000, less than 4-figure cards depreciate in value and get killed. So you kind of see this this separation in the middle. The high ticket items are setting records. Low ticket items, retail investors are like, what should I do? What advice, suggestions, or projection, and maybe is a better word, do you have for 2022?
I think that we will see. And you can tell by yesterday's auction at PWCC. And I use this as an example. The 2018 Tom Brady PSA 10 just did a record for me for like $21,000.
Yeah, silver, just a regular silver, unnumbered Prism silver.
And that was so mind blowing for me. It told me one of two things: that silver market's going to eventually, it's going to change eventually. We'll just have to see how long it's going to take, but I think that we're going to see a lot of appreciation. Basketball hasn't really hit its prime yet. I think the only thing we've actually seen this year happen was Steph Curry broke the record, and look what his cards are doing. I mean, if we see LeBron James beat all-time scoring at number 2, passing Karl Malone, then maybe we see a love for him. Maybe we see some playoff runs happening. But I mean, we're talking about early next year, and people don't realize that right now we're in December. It's a down market. Next year, we're going to see Super Bowl. Early next year, we're going to Super Bowl, All-Star break, going into the finals, and then World Cup potentially. And, we'll see what happens. I definitely think that we're going to see an uptick on a lot of different cards. Can't say all cards, but I think that, if people are playing well, I think that their cards going to eventually appreciate. I mean, I love to see Trae Young get a lot of love.
My PSA 9 Rui Hachimura stack, I shouldn't be hanging on to that hoping.
Man, I'll be honest with you. I think you should have sold it last year, but but this is my 2 cents. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, Rui Hachimura could be the next Giannis. I just don't see it likely.
Even if he is PSA 9s, nobody wants him.
Oh no, 100%. I mean, the market. I don't think that's maybe the cure that the grading companies are kind of looking at. Like, all right, we're going to grade less of these million cards, and we'll focus more on the cards that people really care about, right? And it's the low numbered stuff, it's the numbered stuff. I mean, that's the stuff that doesn't change as drastically as your base cards and your silver cards. So I think I think we just keep our minds open. I know myself, I try to only focus on low numbered stuff. That's usually what I focus on. I mean, or stuff that I feel like is really easy to move. I mean, look what Patrick Mahomes silvers are back up.
7-game win. What I heard was, and I kind of agree with it, it was a market reset, right? We're always looking for equilibrium. I feel like it was a market reset.
I hope we don't lose market participants with the reset.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely one of the concerns that I think we have, but I think it's a responsibility of us, and unfortunately, it's a responsibility of these card shops. And the card shops don't really take a lot of ownership in what they do, but it comes from the customer service. It comes from being able to have these conversations. It comes from being mentors to collectors and making, honestly, if you're new to the hobby, I'd probably tell you, if you come in my door and if I had a shop, you come into my door, yeah, I want you to spend money, but I want you to be happy spending money. I want you to be able to say, I'll tell you straight up, hey, look, we do breaks. If you want to get into it at an inexpensive route, this is maybe an inexpensive way to go about it. And also you even see Panini doing it too. Panini's actually, I'll say this, Panini's done a good job at putting out inexpensive products for people who really want to break. Because you've seen Flux cost $300, Chronicles is $300, but then you still have the marquee products that are still $1,000, which is Prism, $1,500. Then your national treasures like $4,000 or $5,000, but they put out product that people can afford as well. So I'll say shout out to Panini, and I guess that may be kind of a innovative way of doing it, because they're putting out new products that people are kind of like not really unsure about, but it's giving them an opportunity to fulfill that need of the what if, and then also you get to pull your favorite rookie card or whatever. So I think that's a great thing too. So
Chronicles is good for, I try to break something every Friday with my son. And Chronicles is not killer. The hybrid boxes and stuff like that, I can still get them. The only problem is, I'm able to get those boxes. I mean, I guess I got to plan ahead, but I'm able to get those boxes because I go to my local guy and he's getting an allocation. I actually found another store. I dropped my daughter off ice skating yesterday and found another store a couple miles away, further than I normally travel. But hey, why not? And he was complaining to me about the same thing. And these are guys, look, they're not going to complain unless you ask, because obviously I'm a prober. I'm like an alien. Hide your butt. So here's the thing, right? So this is one of those things, right? And everybody, if you ask, they'll tell you the same thing: allocations. And when I say to them, I'm like, "Well, where's your allocation going?" They both say the same thing: breakers. They said breakers. He says, the one guy yesterday told me, he said he heard of a breaker local here who went to a distributor and said, "I'm going to give you $250,000. Just going to hand you $250,000, and we'll draw it down. Make sure you give me the allocation. Make sure, I don't care where you're getting it from. Take it from the LCSs if you have to. Once we get down to 50, I'll just bump it back up to 250 again. And you guys can just keep the money like a rolling, door credit revolving, you name it, the whole deal." And he's like, and he said, "See this product here? I used to get a case of this. Now I get a box. See this product here? I used to get 2 cases. Now I get 3 boxes." Yeah. And, the tough part for me is even, Chronicles or Flux or any of these small things, like I have to basically reserve it with my guy and be like, "All right, if you get 1 box, I want it. And I know next week you're only going to get 1, and you got to give that to somebody else who's a longtime customer. That's fine. We'll figure it out. I'm not going to be greedy." So I guess, the breaking, it's an interesting thing to talk about. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but it's definitely something on my mind because, you hit the nail right on the head. When you got somebody coming in and spending money in your store, yeah, you want them to spend money, but you want them to be happy. You want them to spend their money and leave happy. Right? Because a happy customer is going to be a repeat customer. 100%. Whereas a customer who feels like he was taken advantage of or she left without value is probably 100%. Not coming back, right?
Yep.
Are breaking customers always going to come back because they're a different breed? They're a gambler. They're looking for that online hit. Is it a slot machine type of thing that they're able to get through cards? Because to me, about 80% of the people who break are losers. Not losers because you're not cool, losers because you're not going to get back what you're putting in on those breaks, especially now when it used to be you broke a box, you could bulk grade, you could value sub it, and you could get some of that back in 6 or 8 months. Now you can't even do that. So is breaking now a dangerous thing, especially with all these people putting that much money into it and that many people doing it? Is breaking, going to lose those customers? Is breaking really the way we want the first-time customers to come in? Because chances are they're going to get hurt.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a tough space to be in, especially as a new collector. You're trying to figure out where you should go about, because like I said, retail is kind of meh at best, So, any of the good products not there, and you're going to pay basically almost what you pay at a hobby shop, and you're not giving yourself the best opportunity to pull the best cards. But it's still a gateway if you can get it. So, but yeah, I think you're right. For myself, for the first time ever, I broke aggressively on National Treasures because I was aggressively going after LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. And James Wiseman was the other guy I was going after aggressively. So to be able to get into those breaks, and when I say I didn't get anything, you're right. I didn't get anything. I probably wasted like $2,000 through the course of like maybe like a case and a half, which wasn't that bad, because if I would have bought a box for $4,000 and I don't get anything, I'm probably just as mad as you get $200 for the cards back. So I guess it's a tough space to be in, but I mean I think it's still an inexpensive way to get one of the best cards or premier cards if you're getting into breaks.
Right, gambling.
Yeah. I don't want to use the term gamble because I don't want to use the term gambling, but I'm just gonna say it's give you the best opportunity.
Yeah, at a price point. I get it. I don't want to crap on the breaking. It does. It allows people to get into a product that they otherwise would not get into, because I could spend $4,000 to get a box of National Treasure, so you can get in and have a chance, right? So I get it. Go ahead, Andrew. I'm sorry.
I got one last question, because we try to keep these 30 minutes or so. Sneaker culture. That's where you come from, right? You have Jordans on your wall.
Yes.
Do they love the Jordan Nike promo card? Do they know about that card?
No. Most sneakerheads are not card collectors. Most of them not. Now, the funny part about that is most card collectors can appreciate sneakers, because if you go to a show, you will see a handful of people have random rare sneakers on.
Yep.
It's like, well, where'd you get those from? Oh, I like sneakers. You didn't expect me to have these on? Like, I think I met this older guy at the Dallas show. He had on a pair of Travis Scott 6s, and I was just like, what are you doing with those on? He's like, yeah, I like them, so I bought them. Great. I mean, you can appreciate sneakers.
So sneaker culture doesn't cross to cards yet. Culture Collision might help with that. Mint Collective might help with that. But card people do respect shoes, do respect sneakers.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely. I think as card collectors, we can respect sneakers more so than sneaker people, because I think it's foreign to sneaker collectors to say, this card, man, I like this card. It's foreign versus, or they might say I like the player. Of course, they obviously know with today's news that it's obviously worth money.
Right.
I think that's where I think people have kind of gravitated towards the card market before people really knew the value of cards was like substantial. It's like, oh man, that attracts people, right? We see Golden talk about on TV, oh man, we just broke a record, $2 million. Okay. And they're doing it on a weekly basis, if not a daily basis, new records. And then now people's like, oh man, like, I think I'm gonna try cards out. But there's no education between the two. There's no conversation. Like the card market has always been a tight-knit circle, in my opinion. When I first got into the industry, I had a handful of people that actually knew me, that would talk to me about how to become, how to actually become good at this business, right? And when I mean, shout out to Jeremy and Terry, rest in peace, Terry Doolin. Those are some of the guys that I saw that would travel from show to shows and would get to it. They would, I saw these guys aggressive. Those are kind of like the first group of guys that I actually really saw that would go show to show. And I just used to travel with them. And now I kind of travel further out than they do. But, that's kind of where it is. I think the sneaker market, and that's why I feel like Culture Collision, it has to be a situation where we invite sneakerheads to the show so we can create new collectors and new investors. We can have conversations with them, because I think that the reality is I think that card collectors would appreciate sneakers faster than sneaker people can appreciate cards. But I think that we can have a conversation about it, because I've invited one of my friends who came from the sneaker culture to the card culture, and even somebody like Roth Cards, they came from the sneaker culture to the card culture. They understand it now, and it's like, oh yeah, I get it. This makes sense to me, and I don't see why I would go back to the sneaker culture unless I'm just buying some sneakers that I really want.
You know what you need to do? You need to find somebody who's got a kick-ass collection of the sneaker spotlights from Noir cards.
Oh, that's
you got
easy.
to introduce those over. You need a gateway, right? Andrew did not start on LSD and crack cocaine. He started with weed. You need that gateway drug, right? So some of these sneaker guys, they're going to be
clients. This is client work here.
They were doing well. I think a lot of the sneaker guys, I know a few of them who transitioned from it locally. my guy Nice, he switched. He came from the sneaker culture, but he was buying retail, and he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. Like I've had conversation with people like, hey, stop ripping those boxes. If you're gonna make it, if you just want to focus on making money, sell the boxes. You're gambling just ripping the boxes. Just sell the money, make the margin, then start buying and investing into cards. Because chances are, like, what do you always say? Sometimes money can, you can make money work harder than you can. Yep. And if you're buying the right cards, literally, I bought a card one week and the next weekend it's doubled in value. It just happens that quickly. And sneakers, it doesn't happen that quickly. But if the minute that somebody catches whiff of that in the sneaker world, it's like, oh wow, it's that easy? It's that simple? I don't have to do much of anything. And if you're buying the right cards, they sell themselves.
Less supply, right? In sneaker world.
Well, no, I think in the sneaker world, in my mind, I think Nike has figured out Nike's figured out a really good solution. They just put quick strike on everything, and everything sells. Quick strike means basically it's very limited, but that very limited, they don't have a number. It's not like every shoe.
Right,
is
that's the
number.
difference.
So
you don't know how many.
SSP.
So you don't know how many. So as long as you put quick strike on it, and then like if you ever go to the sneaker app, every Nike product is literally it's literally what do they call it? It's a raffle. So you have to be raffled into a sneaker. So it therefore makes you feel like you're special. But then when you try to sell it and you're like, oh, I sold it for $50. It's like I went through all that to make $50.
Right. I had to go through a lottery system to get into this. Exactly.
To $50. Yeah, it's a very different world. But to respect of like what's crazy is for generations we have trained ourselves in the sneaker world to get up early in the morning and go get in line and go get a pair of sneakers. But in the card world, this was foreign to us. But now when you've probably heard people getting murdered. I think somebody got murdered at Target last year. But now it's gotten to the point where the cultures have kind of collided a little bit. And now, therefore, a lot of things that have happened in the sneaker world are just now happening in the card world because people are seeing that there's value there.
Wait, so the culture there's a collision?
It's a collision.
I got it. I like it.
Love you guys.
Like play on words.
Hey, take us home. We're a month and a week away. Take us home here.
Listen, I can't wait to hang out. I can't wait to see Sasha T dunk on Andrew's head. I mean, I didn't say that out loud. It's a cool thing. I will tell you, I love some of the innovation in the space here, whether it's, bringing the card show itself into the future, trying to, make sure. I'm out here complaining all the time about how we're losing people in the hobby because of grading, because of retail, you name it. I think the real innovation that you're doing is trying to backfill that with other people. You shouldn't get crap for putting Pikachu on your poster, because what you're trying to do is bring in somebody who might be a gamer or a comic person or somebody who plays Pokemon but doesn't collect the cards. You're trying to bring them into the space. You're trying to bring the sneakerheads into the space, right? Because we're all collectors at heart, right? A collector is a collector, and there's something that ties that, right? So, if you're turned off or 10% of the hobby leaves, and I'm like, oh wow, we're going to lose some of the hobby market participants. Well, your innovation is, let's welcome some more people in. Let's welcome some people who might not know about the cards and how similar it is, and how that there is a culture collision between comics, artwork, sneakers, you name it. And it's a real cool thing that you're doing. I'm happy to have a chance to chat with you. I can't wait to hang out with you at the Mint Collective.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you. You're 100% right, man. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful. I think that Culture Collision wants to be the gateway. We want to become the gateway. And I guess in essence, we are the gateway. We want to be from A to Z collectors. We want everyone to be able to come into the space and be able to say, I want to learn about Magic the Gathering. I want to learn about why are these sneakers $5,000? Do you why is that? So these are conversations that need to be had. Well, these are the first pair of Yeezys that ever came out. Do you know who Yeezy is? It's one of the most popular person of all time at this, almost as big as Michael Jackson.
Why do the last Yeezy design look like Crocs?
They're comfortable.
Yeah. Don't wear my sandals. But if you ever go through a puddle, your feet are going to be drenched. I can't. You know what I'm excited for? I'm going to trade a slab for a pair of sneakers at Culture Collision.
I'm totally for it. I literally have told some people who are setting up with sneakers, and I'm going to spend money and buy sneakers, and I challenge you to go buy some cards. I'm gonna
Let's
buy
go.
sneakers, and I challenge you to go buy some cards. Buy some cards, and I really, honestly, I would love to be able to trade a say, you know what? I'll trade you this for a pair of Yeezys. I don't want to pay $6,000 right now, but I'll give you this card. It's worth $6,000. But I mean, I'll probably do it. I mean, I just think that it's so dope to be able to create a bigger space, and with the power of eBay and everybody else that see the vision, and you guys see the vision, I love to see it come together, and we just continue to make this thing better. So I'm thankful.
Appreciate you, PrizmGawd and PrizmGawdess.
Hey, there you go.